Okay, hello and welcome. My name is Mary Hunter. I'm the chair of the Clatsop County Democrats. Thank you for coming today. We're excited to have this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
Well, thank you for inviting me. My name is Tita Montero, and I am running to be reelected as City Councilor of Ward 2 in Seaside. Ward 2 takes in most of the north end of Seaside, of the area of Seaside, which is west of the highway and north of Avenue G. There's a couple places that it doesn't take in right there, but it's most of that.
Okay, thank you. And what has moved you to take on this role in your community?
Well, I believe in volunteerism. I believe in getting involved. I believe in making a difference. And I believe in paying back to my community and where I receive benefits from. So when I first ran for election in 2006, my opponent got one more vote than I did. I was then appointed to the Ward 2 position as he died during office. I was appointed in September of 2010, and I was elected in November of 2010. And although I've served on the council for 12 years, I believe there's still much to be done and much that I can contribute to my community. That's why I take on the role of city councilor. My community is important enough to me that I want to serve the residents by listening to them and working for them.
Okay, thank you. And what experience or background do you have that you feel prepares you for this position?
Well, my years serving on the council certainly provide me an abundance of experience in so many areas specific to Seaside. My work experience as a healthcare administrator running a military health plan, as an owner of a retail establishment in Seaside, as the executive director of the Seaside Downtown Development Association, have all provided ongoing skills and knowledge. And also for some years, I was a business and community liaison for Tongue Point Job Corps Center. So a lot of that, as you can see, is working with and for people. My past and present volunteer work has been as the Seaside Chamber President, as a contributing member on the boards of the Chamber, of the Downtown Association, of Clatsop Economic Development Resources, Coastal Family Health, Clatsop Behavioral Health, the Coaster Theater, the Seaside Museum, Clatsop Economic Development Resources, the Clatsop Cultural Coalition. These have all helped keep me knowledgeable and grounded in our city and our county. In addition to our city budget committee, I work on the county and Sunset Transportation budget committees as well. And statewide, I serve on the board of the Women's Caucus of the League of Oregon Cities, which brings state-grounded knowledge to our community. So I don't just have ideas, I have made ideas work, and I have the community-based knowledge to understand and work with the challenges that can be expected will occur with all ideas.
Okay, thank you. And now for our Seaside specific questions. Affordable housing is a huge issue for our communities here on the North Coast. Do you have any thoughts on paths to increase the availability of housing in Seaside?
Well, first, we don't have enough housing in Seaside. Excuse me. Second, of the housing we do have, much is not affordable for many of those working in Seaside. Since Seaside can't grow very much land-wise, we need to look at ways to increase housing stock in other ways, such as increasing the density possibilities of our residential zones, incenting builders to build in a way that the cost of a house or a duplex or apartment is affordable, develop programs that will benefit builders and buyers and will get the housing into the hands of those who can't afford more expensive housing. What has happened is we've got housing being built. If it's not very expensive, it's being snapped up by people who could afford more expensive housing. I mean, that's the nature of things. But we need to find a way to be able to get the less expensive housing into the hands of the people who can't pay for more expensive housing. Seaside needs to learn more about the state and federal programs which incent builders and assist buyers or renters, and then use the knowledge to build a program. Many builders are socially responsible, and they want to help provide housing that is affordable for all of those that are earning the local wage levels. And we know that the local wage levels and the way that our economy is, we have a lot of people who just simply can't afford what's available at this point. But on top of that, we don't have enough for people. So it's that kind of chicken and egg situation. And how are we going to overcome it? Lots of ideas. We have lots of work to do, despite the fact that we have been doing a lot of work in this area.
Can you talk a little bit about the work that has been done in that area?
Well, we know as a council that this is one of the priorities. And 2 years ago, we do a goal setting session in the council at least once every 2 years. 2 years ago, it became one of the goals. And it was each one of the goals then has I'm going to call him a champion. And what has been going at this point is looking into the situation. You know, you always have to start with finding out the issues and the problems, and also what are the possibilities. Some years ago, when I was sitting on the CEDAR board, Class of Economic Resources, Economic Development Resources, we were talking about the lack of housing. This has got to be maybe 8 years ago, maybe more. And I said, we need to put together, the first thing is get all the players in the room together. And that includes the builders. We cannot solve this. We cannot improve things if we don't include the builders. And of course, what we know is included everywhere are the buyers and the renters and the residents. So have we done enough? I think the problem came up faster than the ship could move, so to speak. And that happened not just in Seaside, that's happened all over the state. So the other thing is learning from what the other cities are doing. League of Oregon Cities is an organization of all the cities. And for instance, in October, I will be going to the fall conference. It gives me an opportunity to network with other people. One of the major topics in the Women's Caucus, which is women elected officials from all the cities in the state. One of our major discussion points has been what each one of us is doing about the homelessness situation in our communities. What are our city councils doing? And the ideas we take away from each other. In fact, this is in the current issue of the League of Oregon Cities magazine. It just came out a couple weeks ago, and Seaside is one of the communities included there.
Okay,
And the homelessness topic is the goal of the council that I took on as a champion.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Let's see, sorry. So we talked a little bit about affordable housing. How do you think short-term rentals fit into the mix?
Short-term rentals is anything that's rented under 30 days. And they're also known as vacation rentals. They're also known as VRDs. So if I slip and say VRDs, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're an important segment of Seaside's economy, whether we like them or not. But we must be sure to keep a balance. I don't believe that vacation rentals, VRDs, are a major component in our affordable housing shortage. I believe they play a part, but not a major part. Many of the short-term rentals in our city are actually second homes that were purchased by people who ultimately want to live in Seaside, maybe when they retire. These homes contribute to our tax base, and they contribute to the residents who are here full-time enjoying a lower water and sewer rate, because every house is charged exactly the same amount for water and sewer, whether or not it's used at that house. So by houses that aren't being there, that nobody's living in or living just in a weekend at a time, they are paying the same amount for water, but so that brings the rate down for everybody. Some of the homes then are vacation rentals, and some sits vacant when the owners aren't visiting Seaside. What a lot of people don't know is that no homeowner is allowed to have more than one house as a vacation rental permit at any time. So if someone wants to make a business of having vacation rentals, and they have 5 houses and they want to go get permits for 5 houses, that's not going to happen under the policies we have. But as we know, and we've discussed, we need housing for Seaside workers and families. And while we can't limit the number of houses that are purchased as second homes, we can limit the number of permits that we give. And we already do not issue permits for vacation rentals on the east side of Highway 101. The Planning Commission recently changed the vacation rental permit policies on the density. How many permits will they allow in the different residential density, residential zones west of 101? And this is going to ultimately decrease the number of vacation rentals in Seaside. The Planning Commission and the City Council is paying attention to this issue. It's been an issue even before I got on the City Council. I remember going to City Council meetings as a citizen, and vacation rentals were an issue even back then. I think we're paying more attention to it now, and we're tweaking the vacation rental permit policies because we want to prevent I'm going to call it a VRD overrun, because we know that full-time housing is very, very important here, but we also have to balance that with, we're a tourism economy. And so that, as I said, adds to the tax base. It does create some jobs. We've got to balance it, but we've got to remember that this has to be a livable city for our residents.
That dovetails nicely with my next question. What opportunities do you see to diversify the economy in Seaside?
Well, Seaside is limited in land. We obviously, when you think of diversifying economy, you think of bringing new business or more business. We can't go west because the ocean is in our way. We really can't go any further east. And north and south, we could go a little bit south to increase the size of the city, you might say. Diversification has to be considered in relationship to our geography. So I started thinking, what kinds of activities or work could be brought in to Seaside that doesn't require more building or increase the housing needs. We go back to that chicken and egg situation. And that is, if you bring more businesses in, if you bring some manufacturing in, etc., well, you need some houses. Well, first of all, you need people to work those, but those people are going to need houses. So all of this dovetails together. I believe that the Clatsop Economic Development Resources, CEDAR, that I talked about earlier, can be a partner in developing ideas and plans, just like they partnered in, okay, what do we need to do? How can we increase some housing? And actually increasing housing, if you drive around Seaside, there's a lot of housing and apartment starts going on. Affordable is the big question. Anyway, coming back to this, we also have to remember that our population is aging. As more of our citizens become retirees, we have to plan for how we're going to have enough working age residents to meet the economic tourism economy, retail, hotel, etc., and restaurants, and how to have enough housing for those workers. So diversifying, do we mean bringing more in? Do we mean having differing opportunities for the same population? I think that Seaside at this point, we need to look at that future. We need to look at the population will be aging. Will it get replaced by younger people, or will we just continue to get older as a population? So we need to determine whether to ride along the coattails of the current tourist economy or to attract some other kinds of economic engines. And there's such a variety. These are the things we need to be considering. It's an important future work of the City Council, and it's important work for the council to engage the Seaside residents in these kinds of decisions, in these kinds of options, in these kinds of inquiries.
Okay, thank you. That's about the end of the questions I have prepared. So is there anything else that you would like to add?
Oh my goodness. Well, when I moved to Seaside in 2002, I can remember going to the city council meeting even before I moved here. Before I moved here, I actually got the Seaside signal for 8 years because I knew I would ultimately move here. I wanted to know my community. Within a week of putting money down on a house here, I started going to city council meetings. I remember the first meeting, there was nobody in the room other than some city staff and me. And at the end of the meeting, they said, the council looked at me and they said, who are you and why are you here? And I said, well, I have a new business that's coming to town, Montero Sisters Fabrics, and I'm moving here, and I think I'm supposed to be a responsible citizen and pay attention to what's going on here. And that's been what I've done the whole time. Before I got on council, I attended just, I would say 95% of the council meetings and probably 85% of all the city committee meetings. And the city has citizens working as volunteers on so many different aspects. And in our planning commission, our convention center commission, etc. So I think that what I'm sharing here is my interest, my desire to serve, my desire to give back, and bottom line, my love of Seaside.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tita. So that brings us to the end of the interview. We will be finishing up these interviews, and once all of them are complete, we'll be posting them to YouTube and social media, and then we'll be sending you the link.
Okay, sounds good.
Right, thank you very much
so
for coming.
All right. Thank
Have
you
a good
for
day.
inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.